how many people are in the competition this year? Raise your hand if you're going to be playing. Yeah? You? Yeah. Everybody. Okay. Where's everybody from? How many Estonians? Okay. Latvians? No? Any Swedes? Any Swedes in the house?
I studied in Germany.
Study in Germany? With who? Oh yeah, great. And I don't know who else is in the house. Spain? Yeah, of course, in Spain. Yeah. Great. We have almost everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can, the way I thought we'd do this is we can do it kind of loose, you know. I can ask some questions, what you guys want to, if you have any things that you want to ask me questions about, right? We can talk about some basic things that I think will help, maybe in the competition, but definitely in trumpet playing. And, although I see a lot of people I recognize. So, and then we can also have everybody play a little bit. We don't have time to have everybody get, you know, do a whole concerto and all this, but maybe like last time we all got together, I think we made sure everybody played a little something. So, but before we do anything, let's talk about resonance. Do you guys know what resonance is? Why is it that some people, when they play, you hear "pa," and some people you hear "ee"? Why is that? Anybody have an answer? What makes us resonate? What makes resonance happen? There's no wrong or right answer, just
Vibration.
vibration. So vibration, for vibration to happen, think about anything other than trumpet for a second. Think about a drum, the head of a drum. If you want it to vibrate, what has to happen?
It has to be tight and you have to hit it.
Right, and there can't be anything kind of sitting on top of it, right? If you were to put your hand on top of the drum and then try to, what happens? Thud, 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 right? Not boom, boom. So our bodies are like a resonance chamber, right? This thing is it's where the sound's coming out, but this is where the sound starts. So if the body is tight like this, it's the same thing with the singer. Here, everybody tighten up their body. Like this. And try to talk. Just, I want everybody to go, sing that. Okay, so as you're doing that, you too, Spain. Everybody try. Now, as you're doing that, then I want you to relax your body. Start it again. Tight. Okay. This should be a really big, aha moment in terms of trumpet playing. Because a lot of trumpet players, they play this way, and they're not even aware that they're doing this. And you can be doing this 80%, 70%, 60%, 50%, maybe just even 2%. And then just 2% is actually robbing you of some of your sound, some of your resonance, right? When people get nervous, including myself, what's the first thing that happens? You store tension in the body, right? You don't breathe as well. You take shallower breaths and you start storing tension here and here. And it's, believe it or not, even the trumpet, if the trumpet is made with a lot of tension in the trumpet, imagine you have a trumpet and it doesn't fit together very well, and you have to bend it, and then you solder it, and then it's held together by solder, but the pieces are really tight, and they don't want to vibrate so well. It's possible also some trumpets, if they're made very poorly, even if the player is very resonant, the trumpet will not create the most resonance, right? So having a good trumpet is an important part of the whole product, right? But really this is number one, right? And so if I go to, let's do the same thing with our sound, right? We're going to do it on a middle G, right? So we'll play this note, but we're going to be really tense at first, and then we're going to open up, okay? Let's try it. Ready? On purpose, I want you to sound bad. I want you to store a lot of tension in your body, shrug your shoulders, do everything wrong, okay? Here we go. And then we relax. Right? So, just me. Alright, we're going to do this as a group. Let's try it. Whoa, man. Looking like
Sorry,
a million
big
bucks. What?
Sorry.
No, but you look like that. You can be as late as you want. Okay, here we go. Oh, we're doing something. We're going to store tension in our body. Since you're late, you have to do the singing by yourself. So I want you to sing a note with as much tension in your body as possible, and then while you're singing the note, let go of the tension.
So, any note.
Any note.
As much tension.
Yes, as possible.
Mm.
But with your mouth open like you're trying to sing well.
Oh.
And then you let go of it. But totally let go of it. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're talking about resonance. What inhibits resonance? What allows resonance, right? What allows vibration to proliferate through the vibrating material, whether it's our body or whether it's our lips or the trumpet, right? A reed, string. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing on the trumpet. Everybody together. We'll do a middle G. Here we go. Let's do the same thing. Middle G. Ah, no C's. No, whoever played it. Now let's do the same thing, but soft. Resonance doesn't have to be loud. So if I play this note. I can work on having a big sound, but really soft, right? Versus, right? Anybody here play whisper tones? Work on whisper tones? No? Yes? No? A little bit? Yeah? Okay, everybody should be working on whisper tones. Because they're like the birthplace of the sound, right? If we go, especially the guys here that have seen me before. So if we go like this, take away the articulation, and just take the lips and the air, and we just practice. Right? That's just the basis of playing. Then if I add the tongue to it, actually let me do the tongue by itself, right? It's just me going. Everybody just do that for a second. Then if I add the tongue to this, right? Then if we start to add more air, we get more sound, right? So the trumpet should be able to be played very, very soft with a lot of control. But I think a lot of people only play piano, but they never play double piano or triple piano or quadruple piano. But people like Maurice Andre, they saw the value in playing very, very softly. Also, when you practice very soft, you're essentially practicing the same setting that you would need to play very high. It's just without so much air and speed of air. Right? So it's actually really beneficial to you in other ways than just being able to play soft. It's also really good if how many people have played really heavy day and then the next day your lips feel kind of crappy? It's happened to everybody. One of the best things to do, the antidote to this, you should pick up the trumpet. And you do this. At first you might get this. Because your lips are going to be all spread and swollen and who knows. And then, can't even hear it over that thing. Is that the coffee machine? Is it making its own coffee? Good. So, I'm going to play in tune with it though. course, you do this on all the pitches. And of course, as you warm up, it gets a little bit easier. At first, when I go to do these things in the morning, they might not work at all. But by doing them, it gives me more access to resonance, not only playing loud, but playing softly as well, right? So why don't we all just try to do this? We'll go down the line. Not to single you out, but because we can't hear it otherwise, if we all do it at the same time. So let's just try middle G, and we'll do breath attack, no tone, right? And you set up like you're going to play a loud G. But instead, next one. Try it again. Keep it soft. This also helps you to control your air, because sometimes it's easy to go, but it's much harder to go and have very, very steady control over this. So. And if you get more air like this, that probably means the aperture is more open than it needs. So if I go, right? So listen to this. I'm going to get the note out, but I'm going to get it with a lot of extra air. So then I focus in like a camera lens, right? Focus in. So all that extra air goes away, and we only use the air for sound. Try it. One more time. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. I can see you're very relaxed, but also, it's funny when we say we want to play relaxed. Playing relaxed means that there's tension in balance. It's like if I pull here and pull here at the same time, but do it very little, this is relaxed, right? There's still some tension here, right? So I think that's the main thing we're trying to find is what is the tension point for the note we're trying to play that feels the easiest and feels the most relaxed, but it doesn't mean that we're actually just going, like just letting things fall apart, right? So that's never relaxed, but if we... Yeah, then you start playing with it, kind of, and making the harmonics happen, right? You guys know throat singing? You ever heard people do this? Right, so if you go like, it's the same thing. Can you hear that? Right? Harmonics, the harmonic series is kind of at the core of everything. So as trumpet players, we play an instrument that's based on harmonic series, but we very often do not actually play the harmonic series in this kind of way where we play just at this very soft place and experience it in this more ethereal kind of way, like with throat singing. Okay, sorry, we keep going. Middle G. Yep, and then good, and then holding it at that place. if the lips are ever a little closer than they need to be, sometimes you'll get these little squirrelies, like this kind of stuff. And then you might be tempted to say, you know what, I'm going to blow more air, and then you'll get shh, and it won't turn into sound. But sometimes at that point, you actually have to relax a little more. Again, I said it's finding the balance, right? So you play with it, like a little more grip, a little less grip, and then you find the place where it's just the right amount. And then what's happening there is the lips are allowed to make this vibration. The lips vibrate like this, right? They swing back and forth. But it just happens so fast that we don't really see it. But if we know that's what's happening, then we know that there has to be enough tension to hold them into a certain position, but also enough looseness to allow them to be able to sway back and forth, right? So if I want a lower sound, I have less tension, and I allow them to have a bigger, you can even see it now, right? Right? If we were to record this, in fact, you can take an iPhone or Samsung, whatever, and you can do the slow-mo recording, and you'll see, so it's no secret what's happening as a trumpet player. And as you go faster, this tension increases, but we still have to have enough relaxation here for the swing. Try it one more time and play with those two things until you find the balance.
So ease up more.
Ease up a little, yeah. And you can also start from a louder note. Try this, go. So you get relaxed. Breath attack though. All the way to nothing. Yeah. And so play with it, mess with it, right? Okay. It's great. Yeah, and this is what's going to happen. It's going to come in and out, right? But eventually, you pick it up and you know exactly where it is. This is the kind of stuff that nobody wants to practice. 99% of trumpet players will never practice this stuff. But I guarantee you some of the best players in the world have practiced this stuff. I've talked to, I know Håkan Hardenberger has done this. I know Winton has done it. I know Maurice Andre has done it. When I studied with Guy Tourvon, he had us doing this stuff too. So whisper tones. Some people call them other things. It's not always called whisper tones, right? Okay. And see, the thing is, if you play too tight, some people might think, oh, if I go really like this, it's going to come out easier. No, you actually have to be pretty relaxed. You have to be pretty free, focused, but very free at the same time, right? So try a little less tension. It's like, but relax it. And let the lips almost be loose. There we go. So they're loose but focused. It's a paradox. A lot of trumpet playing is like this. A lot of life is like this. There's two balance points, right? It's this and it's this at the same time, right? How is it possible? When we play trumpet, for example, we lift the tongue, right, when we're going higher. But we try to keep the tongue as low as possible all the time so our sound is big. So lift the tongue, but lower the tongue. And do them at the same time. And it's possible, right? Otherwise you get, or you get, and you don't get the balance between, right? Okay. Yeah. No? You don't have a trumpet?
No trumpets.
Here, sing. Let's sing really soft. It's the same with singing. Yeah. If you have a really great singer, they have a range all the way down to 3 pianos, 4 pianos, right? So. And try no attack, just fa. Yep. So we'll do it like this. Watch this. Just do that first. Now listen to my air. What I'm going to do is start with big air, and then I'm going to start to focus the air, and then watch what happens. All right? Yeah, it'll start to come in this way, right? So you keep doing it, and then you get control over it, just like anything. Remember what I said to him? If the lips are a little too close to start with, you'll get squeals. Right? Just do the same thing that I had her do. Just. And this kind of exercise, I think, helps people on both sides of the equation. So some trumpet players play a little tight, and they might have a better high range, right? But their sound might be a little small, right? And then some people play really like this, and they don't have a high range, but their sound is bigger, but maybe too big, too airy, and right? So this exercise will teach you to focus, and at the same time, open up. Right? It's so you want both of those qualities. I know you have a good high range, I've heard, right? But you could probably open up the sound a little more, right? So try this again, just air. And then add the focus to the air. For any note, doesn't have to be middle G, any note. And just start a note like normal. Don't worry about it. Yeah, okay, and I call this air to sound, so it doesn't even have to be a whisper tone. If you just go, watch it. So every time I'm starting with a clean slate, no focus, and then I'm going to focus. No focus, to focus. But in between, if you go really slow, you'll pass the whisper tone on the way to getting to the note. So you go. Then they start to get closer together. Oh, am I on a B flat? Am I on a G? Right? But if you're really on a G and not kind of in between the G, what are you going to have more of?
Resonance.
Resonance. This helps us to lock into resonance because we're finding kind of the real core of the note. And we're not kind of playing in between the two notes, right? And think about when we play technical passages and when we crack some notes, which I definitely did last night. But what's usually the root of that? For me, it's the fact that we're not actually dead center in the middle of the note, right? Maybe you didn't practice the piece enough, and you know what I mean? Because there's body memory that has to happen, and that's how we memorize if we're in the right place at the right time, especially with fast things where we have to skate over all this kind of stuff. We can't escape the fact that every note needs its center and needs its core. It needs its focus, right? So, okay, next one. Here we go. Yeah? And just give me a nice to start with. And sit up. Let's sit up. These chairs are awful, so sit on the edge of the chair. Yeah. And how about forte? Big. Yeah. So if we do this, and then take it soft. And then for you, I think what would be really good is to work on crescendos and diminuendos. To get this, that's another thing that will help also. If you're too stiff, being able to go back and forth between those, right? The more warmed up you get, the easier it gets. But if you're very stiff, as soon as you try to go louder, the lips, instead of opening the way they need to, they close and they keep the air, right? So when you go louder, let the lips open, right? Try it. Yeah? One more time. Okay. Resonance, right? We start to hear it a little bit. So this is good. The same thing that allows you to play very loud is the thing that allows you to play very soft. It's kind of crazy, but it really works this way. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And think of how basic of a thing this is that we're doing, right? We're just saying, can we play a note? But we're widening the expectations that we have, right? Normally our expectations are, can we play mezzo piano to double forte, right? And that's a safe place. Although most people don't even play mezzo piano, they play mezzo forte. Okay? But now we're saying, no, we have a wider expectation. We need to be able to play from 4 pianos to 4 fortes, right? And so what this does is it basically makes us ask a more difficult question of our body. And then our body has to find the answer to it, right? But if we don't ask the difficult question every day, the body doesn't find the answer, and we don't improve in that area. So all you have to do is ask the question of your body every day, right? So just do it again. Whether it comes out perfect or not doesn't matter. It's that we're asking the question. Yeah? Yeah. And every time you do it, just make, and this goes for everybody, if it's not working, and it sounds like you're changing stuff, right? But make sure that whether it's intellectual or intuitive, that we allow our body or our mind or something to make some changes, even very slight changes, so that we won't keep having the same outcome. For example, if I go, what's wrong? Oh yeah. You know what I mean? A lot of people will, and then they'll say, screw this. Charlie's crazy. I'm not going to practice this stuff. But the truth is that if that happens, then you're not searching under, you're not picking up enough stones and looking under them and saying, well, let me try that one. Let me try that one. Oh, maybe I try more open. Maybe I try more closed. Maybe I try more tight. Maybe I try more loose, right? But I think it's better not to do it too much by brain. It's better to do it more by feel, by sound. 2 questions you want to ask yourself. How do I make it sound prettier, better, right? Always. At every dynamic, at every part of the range, right? Every articulation. How do I make it sound prettier? What's the other question? How do I make it feel easier? These are the only 2 things that matter in music. I mean, as a performer, I think. Other than, of course, making beautiful music for other people. But it's, as a trumpet player, I want to sound beautiful and I want to feel good. Because it's possible that you can actually sound good, but be in pain. Has anybody had this happen before? Yeah. But that's not, me too. That's not good for the long haul, though. That's going to bite you in the butt later on, right? So, yeah. Okay, good, thank you. Next. then try from the ga, bring it down. Yeah, so if I hear that, it's probably something's too close, right? So in order to play it very soft, we also have to have an aperture that's basically pretty large, right? If our aperture is pretty large, that the aperture is the opening, right? Large aperture allows more room to go soft, right? So if I have a big aperture, and this is how you can make a big aperture. Listen. Let me hear you put the air through. Yeah. Now your aperture's big. Now watch. Now try it like that, this way. And don't close it this way, but just kind of let it come in this way as you go softer. Less and less and less. Make it disappear, listen. But we don't want to do this. Watch. Now I'm going to close this way. You hear the difference? Yeah. Practice this and just do it very slowly. Okay. Sorry, I know this is not the most exciting thing, but I want everybody a chance to do this. Okay? Good, and you mess with it, and maybe at first you get a sound that's not very focused, when it's got a lot of air and stuff, and then you try to pare that down to the most focused sound possible. And like I said, the next thing you do with these things is you can add articulation and flexibility. So one thing I'll do, not every day, but sometimes, especially if I feel like I've had a long day before, then I'll just go like, something like this, or just practice those and just try to get those happening. And then from there, I'll go on to and then going for resonance, right? But feeling the same that I felt when I was playing softly. Feeling that things are working on a micro level, so then they can work on the macro level, right? Because the two are related. The other fun thing about this is more of a trumpet meathead thing, but if you do the soft notes, right, put more air to it. So. All I'm doing now is I'm adding more air to the same small, I'm not even trying to think really about playing trumpet. What I'm thinking of is my whisper tone, and I'm adding more air to it, right? And I'm not even quote unquote warmed up. If it gets warmed up, then it's even easier. But the idea is, especially if you put all the vowels down, what I'm doing there is I'm thinking of going to my whisper tone setting. I'm thinking of what I would do if I'm playing a soft, whisper tone middle G. So if that's not exciting to you guys, I don't know what would be exciting. It's like, whoa, I practice this stuff and my range gets better too? Yes, it will get better. And I remember talking to Faddis about this stuff. You guys have heard of John Faddis? No? Maybe one of the best trumpet players in the whole world? Plays some ridiculous stuff. He can play all the arbin etudes up an octave at the end. And cleanly. I mean, and he's not a classical player, but he has abilities that most trumpet players would give their left arm for. And but the way he got them was by doing a lot of very soft practice. Kind of the opposite thing that most people would think that you would do to get this kind of range. So anyway, okay. So soft playing, really good for almost everything. And of course, if you know any of the teachings of Maurice Andre, he talked about the fact that if there's problems with articulation, that it's usually not articulation. Usually it's a problem with the emission of sound, right? That's what he called it. Anybody seen this book that was compiled by one of his students? Lopez, I think. No? It's like daily journals, practice things, Maurice Andre. You've all heard of Maurice Andre? Okay. Don't look too excited. Yeah, Maurice Andre. Just one of the best trumpet players ever in the world, yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, he was also an exceptional teacher. He doesn't have a reputation for being a great teacher because he didn't put out a method book. But I think he was very smart in that he knew that every student needed different tutelage. Every student needed to hear different words. So some of the best teachers, they actually don't put out books because they know that in some ways it's doing a disservice. And but the thing is, one of the things he talked about universally was getting this pure emission of sound. If you do this, then articulation, most issues with articulation get fixed if the sound is fixed. For example, how many people, when they go up higher, they get split tones, like this maybe sometimes happens, maybe one note or two. How many, right? It's happened, right? Okay. So, if we go up there, and you take away the articulation, and you do a breath attack on a G, and you're getting this kind of sound, then it's no wonder why the note is cracking sometimes, right? So if you go up there, and you go, you start to add the articulation to that, it's going to be a perfect articulation even at triple or quadruple piano. Why is that? Because it comes back to the resonance thing, right? We took away the tension that was stopping the note at its very core from having resonance and vibrational potential, right? You add tongue on top of that, you're just clouding it up with something. You're masking the problem that's there, and then you're blaming the tongue. Oh, my tongue up there, it sounds bad. No, it's not your tongue. It's probably your technique, right? So, anyway, I wanted to start with this because, and I won't say who, but I heard some trumpet players yesterday, and I could tell the difference between sounds that sounded more resonant and just, for example, I want to say one shout out to our other man from Spain, right? Adan was playing yesterday, and he's got one of these sounds that's just immediately, it just goes out to the end of the room. Have you guys heard him play? Yeah, I know you have. So what I love about this sound is how resonant it is. But, I could say maybe compared to some of the other sounds, I would hear two trumpet players playing the same thing, almost the same dynamic, but one sound goes to the end of the hall, and the other sound stays on the stage. What's the difference there? Is it mouthpieces?
Probably.
It's probably the mouthpiece, right? Gotta be the mouthpiece. What do you think? What is it? Oh, it's the stompi. No, I think it's resonance. It's how free Adan is when he's playing. He's relaxed to a point, and of course has just enough tension, but in a good way, right? Okay, let's play something together now that we've talked a little bit. And then we'll have people play some individual stuff and show off and all this stuff. Okay, so, but let's do a flexibility exercise. Oh, okay, can we play one thing and then we go?
Yeah, and then we can move.
Yeah. So we're gonna do this. So actually, no, let's do this. I'm gonna show you one that I do personally. This is one of my kind of signature warm-up flexibilities. So maybe some of you know it from last time. So you can do this in different parts of the range, but you go da ya ya. This is part one, right? That repeats twice. Da ya 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 ya. This is part two. Da ya ya. And that repeats twice, right? Then back to the part one. Da ya 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 ya. And then part two, but it ends. Da ya. So it's gonna sound like this. Let's do it together, ready? And we'll do slow. Ah, yeah, yeah, ready? And. Twice the tempo. Ready? Three times the tempo. Ready? This is yodeling now. Now we can't play with control. It's more like. Everybody do that for a second. Ready, and. Especially this part. Everybody do that? Right? This is like, I think some of the best trumpet playing in terms of flexibility is like yodeling. So if I go, there's another one I like to play. Right? And if I do it faster. I wouldn't be able to do it at all if I didn't first let go of trying to control it. If I try to control it, there's no way I can do it anymore, right? But I let it go, and then I think of yodeling, and let the linguistics take care of it, right? So let's do that other one again. Let's take it at an uncomfortable tempo. And I think you should push yourself into these uncomfortable tempos every day with your flexibilities. To the place where you cannot control it. If you take it there, then you're asking your body another question. How do I control something that I can't control, right? If we only practice within the tempo where we can force it, then we never learn to do this yodeling kind of approach, right? So let's try it again. 1, 2, 1. A little faster. 2, ready. Take it up to the next line. You gotta try. Come on. Let's see. Now, next one. And if you want, you can do the lower one. Two. You can keep going with this and keep going. Right? And they get closer and closer and closer together. But it still feels, how many people are feeling this yodeling thing maybe helping a little bit? Yeah? Right? Yeah? A little? So, as silly as it is, everybody should actually, everybody pull out their phone right now. Everybody have a phone on them? Okay. I want you to, because I tell people to do this, but then they don't. So go to YouTube right now. YouTube. And you're going to look up this guy. Franzl Lang. F-R-A-N-Z-L. Lang. L-A-N-G.
Singer.
Yeah. Yodeling.
Yeah.
And here, I'll play it for you. Not this. You always got to listen to the ads. Does anybody actually pay YouTube to not hear the ads? 'Cause okay. This is. And no valves. There's no valves. Listen to this. Means even dancing. Seriously, you should all check this out and try to actually play that on the trumpet. And try to play trumpet that way. Because the voice is maybe the most similar instrument to our instrument. Why?
The body is more delusional.
Yeah, I mean, we have these two little things vibrating, and they look almost exactly like vocal cords. Anybody ever seen vocal cords when they're singing? A close-up of what they look like? It looks like two little lips oscillating together, right? And it's flesh and blood. It's not a string, it's not wood, right? So we can learn from singers in terms of this thing. And also, in terms of like playing, it's funny, trumpet players get so scared of playing big intervals, right? Because they never practice them. Because, I don't know, we've just come to the conclusion that anything above a fifth or a sixth is hard and we should just avoid it. I mean, most trumpet players, I'm saying, now of course there are more adventurous trumpet players that like to do crazy things, but I think all of us should be attempting larger intervals every day, but with this mentality. So if I go, die, die, everybody just do that. Die, die, but not die, don't do this. Think of it like a basketball. Does everybody bounce the basketball? And some of you might have heard this before, but it's a good reminder. So, da, right? You don't go, da, ah, right? You don't go, ah, and I gotta lift it. It lifts itself. Die, 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 die. Everybody try that. 1, 2, ready. Die, 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 right, and you play with that. So bottom note. And then the upper notes come out very easy if I'm not trying to lift them up. We're supposed to go to the other room, aren't we? I forgot about that. So if we take away the extra air to start with, then we take away the risk of playing a flexibility as an air ability, right? So if we go to flexibility, what is a flexibility? It's the ability to flex. Something is actually flexing. So there's something happening not only with the air, but also with the face. But I'm not really thinking about this so much. I'm kind of letting the air lead the way. Because what happens, like a trampoline, you guys know a trampoline, you jump on it? What happens when you jump on a trampoline? Sends you back up, right? Think of a trampoline, but on its side. Now imagine your lips are a trampoline. You blow a lot of air on the bottom note. Da, right? But then you back off the air. What happens to the natural elasticity of the lips? They come back in. Die, die. And it works to our advantage, right? Without us actually having to flex too much. A tiny bit of flex. Die. Well, we're using the air to our advantage on the bottom notes to create this, what I call a trampoline effect. Right? So by giving more air on the bottom, you fuel the top. Of course, I can do this too, but I use the other thing as my basis, right? Does this make sense? Okay, so let's try it. Die. We sing it C to G, but we barely say the G at all. Die, 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 die. Now we play it this way. 2, greater. So we got some C's happening too. Okay? And then we do the C. Ready? Sing it. Die, 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 die. Now let's do the die, 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 die. Sing that one. Die, 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 die. Then we'll play that. What you do is experiment with this. And in a way, you have to almost play it quick enough that it fools your body so that you're not going, you know? If you do it quick enough, it feels more like the basketball. And then you'll start to notice that that top note will come out and it'll surprise you because you didn't try at all to make it happen. And it came out. Did any of you experience that happening at all? Maybe one note might have come out easier than you were thinking it would come out? Right? Yeah. So I have some etudes. Actually, I have one etude. I was thinking maybe some brave person could come up and sight read it. Who wants to play?
I can play.
Okay. So it's I have a book of etudes that I've been meaning to get out. I'm going to release them later this year, but there's of course there's like 20 really hard technical etudes, but then there's about 25 more lyrical etudes, and they're fairly easy. But what's difficult is that they have some wide intervals. So of course part of this process of playing wider intervals is that we have to hear them and sing them, right? I remember one time I did a competition, very much like you guys. I used to be doing lots of competitions, and there was this one that I did, the Marknenkirchen competition. You know this in Germany? Do they still have this? Marknenkirchen? No. It's where they make the famous piccolo trumpets. What's that?
Bessel, no?
Not. Starts with a S. Well, BNS is there, and also this other rotary trumpet, the piccolo. Scherzer. Yeah. Yeah, Scherzer, or Scherzer, however you say it. But I remember David Guerrier was there, and he was 13, and he was just kicking butt in the competition. There's a lot of great players there. Jeroen Beerwurts? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I remember talking to David because he was just playing everything perfect and by memory, and not the most musical, but he was only 13. I mean, come on, right? What can you do? But he sounded amazing. And one thing that stuck to me, what he said was he doesn't practice the trumpet at all to learn music. He just solfèges it and sings it first, completely. Learns the piece this way. And that made so much sense to me because this is hardware for the software. If we don't have the software first, right? Like, so the first thing, if you're singing this, da dee da 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 da, that's the first thing if you're sight reading, right? You have to know what the software is so that the hardware is going to interact properly with your body, right? Otherwise, no, the notes are just going to be chants, right? Are you pretty good at singing?
No, I guess we'll find out.
Try it. Try singing the first couple of lines.
Da,
So, can you get down that low? Try. That's good enough. Da 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 All right, let's play that now. Oh, jeez. My stand out of the way, man. Sorry. The part you're saying you didn't have any problems with, right? You're kind of demonstrating this perfectly. Thank you. So when we sing stuff through, how many people have had your teachers tell you to sing stuff? Yeah? Okay. I remember one time I was on a train and I was studying with Winton at the time, and I was working on the Tomasi Concerto, and we were on the train going to pick up his kids from Jersey, and he's like, all right, I want you to sing the first movement. I was like, because it was a packed train, there was people all around. I was like, now? He's like, yeah. So there I am, singing the Tomasi, right? Singing all the pitches. But it's really important, especially on a piece like that, that you can sing all the pitches. Because what do we want to do on the trumpet? Don't we want to play all the pitches? Or you want to play half the pitches? What? Which choice would you make? All the pitches? Raise your hand. Half the pitches? Raise your hand. Okay. No. It's okay. But this is what ends up happening. I mean, if you ask that question, everybody would say, of course I want to play all the pitches. Well, then you should be able to sing all the pitches. It's really that simple, because the singing is representative of your ability to understand the music, right? To really be able to connect to the software. So thank you, man. Appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, here, let's have them do. Let's have you do one of the harder moments. Okay, since you're doing well with this. So this part right here. Actually, this isn't so bad. How about here? Okay, yeah. So.
Reverse me now.
No, so now we're getting to some bigger intervals, right? This is, so. So sing from here. Get the pitch on the trumpet if you need. Yeah. So here's the easy way. Yeah. When you look at that, take it down an octave, the next note. And what is it? Na, 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 and then you use your yodel voice, right? So, na, now we get to tie in the technique we were just talking about, right? So sing it. La, where did I put the accents?
The first one.
The first note, not the top note. So if you see an interval like a G in A flat or a G in A, think of the next note down the octave. La da 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 e a da da e a da 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 e a da da e a. Right? This is gonna help. Okay, try it.
la la la. This one.
La, ee, oh, la, 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 la. Yeah, I'm not a great singer, but I still try. Right? Okay, let's play it now. Yeah, and if you do it even more, try this. Make sure you carry over your sharps. But yeah, beautiful. So the idea, even these wide intervals are still connected by air, right? So if we go, if we were doing this on the voice, we go da da da. If you were to slow that down, you'd still hear some connection there. But on trumpet, sometimes we go da. We make a little break there. So I like to sometimes take the mouthpiece, which I can't do with this. But I can, here, I have a separate one. Okay. Here it is. Now, we take this. This is our best tool to really understand how to play stuff like this. Everybody take the mouthpiece and just play this for me. The bottom note, big. Top note, soft. What? Now we do it quick. And notice, it's still connected, right? But if we do this quick enough on the trumpet doesn't have time to slot it, so what do we get? If I do the same thing? Right? We hear the connection. It just sounds like a good slur, but we don't hear dai, dai, but we know we're doing it, right? This is the main thing. Always make sure we do that. Okay, one last time. Just the dai, just let me hear that interval.
The first one.
Yes, but just like you played on the mouthpiece. Yeah. Remember what I said about you, with doing the flexibilities? You have to let go of your control, you know? Yeah. That's it. Yeah. You invest in the bottom note, and you don't worry about the top note. And then when you don't worry about the top note actually comes out. It's crazy. You think about the note before, right? This is a good lesson in just in general. Okay, thank you. All right. So let's bring up people to play some stuff. And actually, if you have some questions, we could ask some questions, and then I can have you play something relating to your question too. We could do it like this. Or maybe somebody wants to play something from the piece that they're going to play in the competition, right? And they have a question about something like this, right? So, and if you have questions about this, you can ask me afterwards too. Sorry, I just used you for this, but don't be shy. We don't have much time, so I want to make sure I get to everybody.
I have just a little question.
Yeah,
Uh,
come on up.
okay.
And let me get all your names too. What was your name again?
Yan.
Jan?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Jan.
Herhan.
Herhan?
Herhan, yeah. When I get warm up and play the basic things,
Yeah.
I can play better scale with just one octave, but I can't play good with 2 octaves.
Okay, in the warm-up, you mean?
Not after warm up.
Oh, after the warm-up.
Yes.
Can you give me an example?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
and if I play them with 2 octaves, it's good, but
Maybe it's the whisper tones we did earlier.
I mean,
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
after the C,
Yeah.
maybe the sharp C,
Yeah.
I can play just 1.
Does it start to split or get a little not clean?
If I play the 1 octave from, I can play maybe E, but with 2 octaves, then my high notes will be a little bit too dry, like not clear,
Yeah,
but sound a little bit.
Well, this is a very typical thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
think one of the reasons is because when we go from low to high, what do we typically do? A lot of trumpet players. Tension, not only in the body, but in the lips,
Yeah.
too much tension, right? This starts to happen. We need a certain amount of this, but also, if you look at this right here, what does this do? I'm getting effortless high notes. How am I doing it? Squeak face, right? So part of the element of a good embouchure is compression. This is what gives us high notes. But this is not going to give us open sound. So the other part of this is this. See how these guys lift up and these pull down? If you look at a really good trumpet player, you'll notice usually they're engaged here and here. Look at Neme when he's playing. I mean, look at any great trumpet player. You'll see this working. Why? Why these and these? They pull the lips up. These are called the levator muscles, right? They levitate the top lip. These are called the depressor muscles. They depress the lower lip. Right? If we're getting really technical, it looks kind of like you just smelled something really bad, like, right? Like a stink face. That is the opposite of this face. Right? This is the one that gives you high notes, or just, right? And this is the one that gives you open sound. You have to find a balance between those two, and when you go up higher, not let that balance shift to this. You see what I'm saying? So what I do on a technical level, I'm trying to make sure that I'm maintaining. It's kind of like if you buzz. This is one thing that buzzing is useful for. Buzzing is not exactly the way we play, but if you look at somebody when they buzz and they go from low to high, you can really tell if they have a trend of tightening up too much. So if I go, now I'm going to do it a little different. You see what's happening there? I'm losing that balance between the parts of the face that are opening up and the parts that are closing in, right? And what I want to have is I want to maintain that balance all the way up. You look at a great trumpet player, and really their face doesn't change too much from low to high. And part of that is that we change to not change, if that makes sense, right? If we were to just do nothing, the face would change on its own. But then we create change to create stability so the face stays the same. So it looks like it's the same from the outside, when in fact internally we feel that we're doing something, right? That's, in my opinion, good trumpet playing. It's like an illusion, right? And again, it's that balance of opposites. There's movement to create non-movement. So as you're going up higher, like just, you want to make sure that this is not, like for example, if I go, now you hear what just started to happen? I hear this happen sometimes on Petrushka. People will play, play the whole thing, and then at the end, the last few notes, it's not clean. So my friend Balazs Nemes is a really great trumpet player. He had this way of practicing Clark studies. This is a really good thing to help with this. So you do the Clark study number 4, right? I want to hear you do this.
Which?
Yeah, just do C. but we're going to tongue the whole thing. And then, actually, let's do G. And then when you get to the higher note, you're going to give it a whole measure. So you'll extend it by one measure. When you do this, and then you take this up a little bit higher, and you try it from C, right? Let's try it there.
The high C.
Yeah, but we'll start on the
Oh, yeah.
third space C.
This one.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, and I can see in your face actually starting
Yeah,
to
that's
do,
true.
right? So what needs to happen is, and I think more through musical and intuitive practice, but you could look in the mirror. Sometimes the mirror is helpful. I remember Winton told me one time, he looked in the mirror, because I asked him, I said, did you ever change your embouchure? He's like, just one time to look more like Miles Davis. That's all, and so he did it for aesthetic reasons. But oftentimes the aesthetics of what looks like a good embouchure actually do lead to better balance. So if you're looking at your face in the mirror, and as you go high, it starts to get all, probably something needs to improve, right? So if you look at your face and you try to say, okay, I want my face to look the same as middle G when I go up to high C. If you try to get that to happen, right, just looking in the mirror, yeah, yeah, of course. And play a little softer up top too. Yeah. And this is not to say that everybody has to have a flat chin when they play. What this is to say, what I mean to say is that wherever you are when you're playing in your mid-range, your high range doesn't have to look so different from this. So maybe, some people, they have very small teeth, and they have, they might have big teeth and very small lips. So then, in order to get their lips to touch together, like some people, they naturally look like this. Without trying to smile. Have you ever seen people like this, where their teeth are already showing, right? So, okay, yeah. So if this is the case, their chin probably has to come further up, just to be able to meet their lips together. So if they had a teacher that said to them, chin flat, oh, it would be a disaster for this person, right? So this is why we can't always say the same thing for every person. Flat chin, it's mostly true, but for some people, not at all, right? So, but the point is, wherever you are in your mid-range, try to make this the same in your high range, right? And that's what I saw you do. Did you guys see a difference that time, actually? Was anybody looking at that? It stayed stable. And what happened to the sound? It stayed stable. Yeah. So I think it's just trying to keep the oneness, right? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully that helps. Yeah. Okay. Another question. And any questions, or somebody want to play something?
Do you use pedal tones?
Pedal tones. Sometimes. I think of pedal tones like a tool. The modern day trumpet doesn't really favor pedal tones. Do you know what I mean by this? If you play an old trumpet, like an old natural trumpet, of course the music was written to include these notes. So the bell is bigger, right? The mouthpiece is a bit bigger. The construction is designed to help you play those notes effectively. That being said, I feel like modern day trumpets, you have to manipulate more. He was asking about pedal tones, right? You have to manipulate more to get pedal tones to come out. So I do find a value in them, but, what's that? Oh, okay. But the problem with doing them on a modern day trumpet is you have to manipulate a little too much. If you have, like, say, a cornet or a flugelhorn, case in point, let's see, I have Neme's mouthpiece here, I think, yes. So, if you want to learn to do pedals correctly, I think the main thing to do is first try to do it on a flugelhorn or on a cornet. Because I think a lot of people do pedals incorrectly. They play like this. They loosen their lips up too much and they go. into the trumpet, right, with their mouth. So instead of doing this, so drop your jaw. Don't drop your horn. So. Much easier to do on a flugel, right? Why is it so hard on a trumpet? It's not your fault if it's harder. Has anybody have trouble getting a pedal C out on the trumpet? Yeah. It's not your fault. That's what I'm trying to say. But I will say that certain trumpets, like, let me see, anybody have a C trumpet? Can I see it?
Yes.
C trumpets, for some reason, I think I have better luck getting pedals out on C trumpets than B flat trumpets. Let me see if this is one of them. So. Yeah, so this one, pretty good. All right. But if I try to do it on my trumpet, I have to manipulate a lot on this horn to make it come out. Doesn't mean it's a bad horn. What I think it means though is that modern day trumpets, they're built to favor the higher range, not so much this pedal range. So it partially depends on the trumpet you're playing on, but are there value in doing them? Yes, as long as you're doing them in a way that is relaxed and not causing you more stress, right? So you don't want to be working against yourself on a trumpet that's not going to do it well for you, and that's manipulating and then causing more tension in your body. Then ultimately that's not helpful. You see, right? But if you are able to do it, then taking that to the next. I think these. Let's say some other pedals though. If we do these, so. These are really helpful because they teach you to relax and to allow flexibility in the embouchure, right? These are not real pedals, these are false pedals because we're lipping the note down. These notes don't exist on any of the harmonic series. So it's a totally different type of pedal, but they're very useful because a lot of people when they go down to these notes, they can't project because they're too tight. So if you're too tight in your embouchure, it's going to want to stay on the note above, but you have to be able to bend. You understand? Which is partially an air thing, and it's partially a jaw thing. It's partially a relaxation thing. So I think these can be really helpful, maybe even more than the low pedals, right? But I do demonstrate in one of my videos, like an old video, some of these pedal tone things for range. So that's the other thing is if you do pedal tones on the natural harmonic series, as long as they come out easy on the horn, then it's very useful, can be useful, to go up into the higher register. So you play the pedal, and then you ascend through the registers, keeping connected, and try to maintain the quality of being relaxed and open. Because as you go up higher, surely you're going to create more resistance, and things are going to start to want to feel closed, especially in the throat. But one of the things we get when we play pedal tones correctly is our throat opens up and relaxes. And we want to keep this feeling. Everybody try this. Feel how relaxed that is? If you can pant, like a dog, you feel this very cool feeling, relaxed feeling in your throat. You want to maintain this feeling all the way into the upper register. I feel like in the pedal register, if you're playing correctly, this is the case. It'll be nice and open and relaxed. Does that answer your question? Okay. All right. You had your...
Yeah, I just wanted to, if you read this Louis Macho method books.
Yeah, I've read all...
Do you agree with?
I agree with a little bit of everything. I mean, I don't think... I've never read any method book where I was like, yeah, that's 100%. But again, I think you can explain things from two sides, right? And they seem totally different. So some people say lift the tongue, some people say lower the tongue. But as I said earlier, really our balance point is somewhere in between. And Maggio, of course, he's got the picture of the monkey on the front, right? But I think it's a mistake to play too much like this. Right? I've seen some people actually taking this too far and playing like this. yeah, I can play like that, but can I get a good sound and good articulation and,
But there is lots of pedal tones all the time in this book.
of course, yeah, yeah. But you can play pedal tones with 5 different embouchures, right? So what's the most effective one? I think the most effective embouchure to play your pedal tone with is going to be the one that you play the rest of the trumpet with, right? You don't want to have an embouchure, I don't know, I see some people do this kind of thing where they play, and then they're sucking the lip in and then going up. It's never worked for me. Because for me, I want to play the whole range on one stationary embouchure that doesn't have to move, right? So I want to, that's why I want to be able to go like, right? I don't want to have to go, die, die, die. There's too much movement. If I had to play like this, you know, then it would be really hard to do these technical type of things that I want to be able to do. But I know that some people get value out of doing pedals like this, like double pedals, and then, you know, slurring up into the higher range. But it's not been my thing. I'm not going to say it can't work, but it hasn't worked for me. So, but if it's helping you, then more power to you, right? So, is it helping, the modular stuff?
Yeah, I think the same, that if I can play with the same setup, those pedal tones that I play high, then it
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah, I think it's possible, but then the jaw has to do the work, right? Instead of moving the lips in and out, the jaw does the work. See, people have heard of Carmine Caruso? Yeah? So the thing about Carmine Caruso, he was not a trumpet player, but he helped a lot of trumpet players. But he was a violinist and he was a saxophonist, right? So as a violinist or a saxophonist, you have a vibrating piece of material. By the way, if anybody can translate for this little guy over here, I don't know if how much he's getting at this, but yeah. No. So any little things that might be helpful to him, I want to make sure he gets something out of this. So, but in terms of what I was just saying, being a violinist and being a saxophone player, when you play a saxophone and you have your reed in there, what happens when you go higher? Do you loosen the reed and move it? And then loosen it and then tighten it and move? No, this would be crazy, right? What about as a string player? Jeez. Chairs and stands. If you have a violin here, when you're playing, do you tune the string? And maybe on some pieces, right? But in general, no. The string stays the same. You manipulate the string with your fingers and with the bow, but not by changing the tension on the string. So if we're doing this, Caruso saw that this was a problem right away with trumpet players. He saw too much movement happening. And so that's why he had them play the 6 magic notes. Da, 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 right? So, and you play them all in the same setting. And then you end up playing all the seconds and thirds and fourths and fifths into the extreme register, all in the same setting, just the way a violinist would do. Imagine you only had one string. You could still play a range of different notes on the one string. You have to manipulate it and learn how to shorten the string, right? Makes sense. But you don't do this, right? So I think this is why, maybe also mentality-wise, I think of having the one setting, you know, because I agree with this philosophy, that we want to make the change. We want to get all the change possible from a stationary position. Again, we balance of opposites. If everything's moving and we're trying to move, what's creating stability? I don't know. So, I don't know. Do you want to demonstrate anything or play anything?
No.
No.
What exercises should I do to increase my range?
Range. Like I said, I think that one of the first things is starting with this, because it teaches us. So what's the difference between that and playing 2 octaves higher? All right. I'm much smaller up there. And then if I give the air, see, one of the reasons people can't play up there is because they're too tight, right? So when we play a whisper tone, it actually teaches us to actually open up a little bit. It's not what we would think it is, right? intuitively we would think, oh, I'm playing whisper tone, I got to get way tight. But actually, it's focused, but it's not tight, right? So the first thing to understand is the difference between being focused and being tight. So if I'm focused, so I do breath attack. Now I do the same breath attack. Same breath attack. Too tight. I'm too tight right now. But if I practice this, and if I wasn't demonstrating it, I would be like relaxed, and I just go ha, ha, right? And those notes will start to come out easier. This is like, we work against ourselves when it comes to range, right? So if we want to increase our range, we have to learn how to get out of our way, number one, by being too tight and trying too hard here. So I think breath attacks are a good way to get into it. There's also two ways you can approach range. You can do it very progressively, like, okay, I'm playing my scale and now I have a new note, right? And I incorporate that into the scale, right? Or like Maurice Andre had an exercise that he did. It's very similar to Faddis's. You know John Faddis, the guy I mentioned? Okay, so Maurice, his exercise was this. Hold out the note as long as you can. And go down the 5 chord back to 1. So. Then you go up. Something like this, right? But the point is, as you go higher and higher and higher, you keep holding that top note as long as you can with just enough air left to take you back down. And so you're getting exposure to the top note, very soft though. So John Faddis's exercise is kind of the same thing. He calls it the triad exercise. So you go. And you hold the note as long as possible until you run out of air. And then you keep going up in half steps. This is a great exercise. If you do this, your range will increase, okay? You go up in half steps, and you keep doing it. Hold the fifth of the triad as long as possible. Eventually, your body's going to give out, right? So once your body gives out, then you stop for 5 minutes. You come back, and then you start where you left off, and you keep trying to keep going, right? And as you go higher, don't go loud. So if I'm going higher, let's say I'm at... I don't want to go any louder than that. I want to keep it nice and soft and try to keep it focused. Sometimes I'll even add a little like... No. He walks in the room as I'm demonstrating. I might add on a little like a little trill or something to make it feel like limber. That time it didn't trill so well. You could probably do it right out of the, put the trumpet on. Anyway, did you get what I'm saying, right? You want to keep it soft, and as you keep going up these, eventually it's going to shut off. And when it shuts off and you can't play it anymore, you put the horn down, and that's the end of that exercise. And you just do that every day. It's more about the consistency of it than how high you get on the one day that you do it, right? I haven't done this exercise in a while, but I know if I did it, my range would increase. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of just doing it every day, and doing it every day for many months and even years. When I asked Faddis how long he did it, he said every day without fail for 7 years. And that's how he built his range. He started doing it when he was like 11. By the time he was 18, he was like the best high note player in the world. And it wasn't because he's the smartest trumpet player in the world, but he figured out one simple truth, and he exploited it through practice and consistency every single day. And the truth is, most people are just not that consistent, right? Or they're consistently doing the wrong thing. So, right? This is a very simple exercise. But, again, when you're going up there, in order to understand you do those whisper tones, and that teaches you something about where that's going to be. And play loud, trying to play soft. But find the connection between that and a whisper tone. What's the connection? It's the small setting, but also kind of relaxed. Now the other way you can approach this, and this is the opposite way of approaching it, is through large intervals. Because what happens as we go up the scale? People start to get really tight, right? So if we go up, instead of going one note at a time, we can go play like a middle G, and what you do is you're not trying to even play a specific note. You're trying to do, this is something Lori Frank gave me, to build range, right? And the way she talked about it was, instead of just like trying to go progressively, you do this thing called a squeak down. And so the way she had me do it was, she said, all right, set up for a middle G, play it loud, and relax. And then she said, stay there, stop, right? And now, go for the highest squeak that you can, just the tiniest little baby note. And then what you're going to do is bring it back down to that middle G or to a C. That was the squeak down, right? So basically, first time I did it, this is what happened. I didn't get anything out. It was too tight, right? And you might do this and maybe a high C comes out. And if a high C comes out, you're not really getting a squeak. You're just playing a high note, right? But if I go, now that's a squeak down, right? I'm taking it, I'm connecting it down through the range. And so that shows me that it's a real note, even if it's a baby note. And so if I know it's a real note, then what I can do is actually just practice holding those. And so what you're doing now is you're working on your range from the outside in instead of the inside out, right? Which is the normal way that we usually work on range, is going up. But you can also work on it going from the outside. Because you establish what your double C is, maybe it's the first time ever, right? You play this note, you say, wow, it's not as hard as I thought it was. Then by proxy, a high C is not as hard as you thought it was anymore, right? Because if a high C used to be here, but now your double C's here, that means your high C is here. So it kind of reallocates all of the notes and makes everything a little bit easier on the trumpet. And hopefully it makes us become less meathead. And we realize that the high notes are not so important. It's more about the efficiency of how we play, and so that we can actually be beautiful on all the notes, right? So, but if I need to play high notes, I know how to practice them at least. I'm not very as dedicated as this guy over here. So if people want more high note stuff, they should talk to Nime. And also you have to have this this attitude of, I don't care if I miss. Also, this is a very important thing with the high notes, because if you care too much, you're going to strain too much, and you're going to do probably the wrong things. You know, you have to actually, I remember talking to Rashawn Ross. You guys heard of this guy, Rashawn Ross? He's one of the baddest dudes ever. Funny enough, he credits me with some of his embouchure stuff, and it's not true. It's totally not true. He figured it out on his own. But Rashawn Ross can play all this stuff up to triple high C, right? Effortlessly. And I remember asking him, because Rashawn used to have no range. I remember seeing him back at this jazz club, and we were warming up in the back room, right, in New York, and he was struggling to get up to high C. And I just remember watching him, and he was just setting up, he was just working on his embouchure, like, didn't even know what he was doing. Fast forward many years later, he's probably the best high note trumpet player in the world, at least one of them, and has the most control. And I remember saying to him, I was like, man, how did you get from where you were to being able to do this stuff on stage? Because it's one thing like doing it in a practice room, but he gets on stage and just does it. And he said, bro, can I use a bad word? Oh, I'll go shh. He said, bro, you just got to be willing to sound like shh, right? So, and that there was something really important about that. Like, he was able to set his ego aside so that he could actually let the mechanics and everything start to work correctly, and not worry so much about what the outcome, but focus more about what's going out instead of what's coming in. Does that make sense? So that's another important part of it, I think. It's psychology. you can't want it too much. You know, you have to understand what's creating it, and then you have to clear your mind. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah. And also, you know, making sure that, of course, some mechanics are good too. Like if you're playing here, you'll never get high notes, right? It's possible, maybe. Or maybe, you guys see Vizzuti do this thing where he plays from his cheek? I never saw that before. I've seen this before. You can play with your tongue. There's lots of ways to play. But in terms of playing in a way that's going to be balanced and getting you to those notes, also, like I said, the whisper tones are a good way to kind of judge if mechanics are working here. Okay, more questions. And I want more people to play if somebody wants to play. You guys are so quiet. Always so quiet. I remember you. You, come on. Come up here. Come on. What's your name? Joseph? Okay. What do you want to play? Do you have a question about anything? No? Okay. So play something. Do you have anything by memory? One of your pieces?
Yes.
Play a little bit of it. So, let's do this again. Remember we talked about resonance? Right now I'm hearing more, it's a little bit trapped, your sound, right? You can have a bigger sound. And I don't mean louder sound, right? So, look. So it's, play your C. I want you to find your sound on this C. Do this for me. Go. I want you to do a couple of crescendos and diminuendos. See what happens when you go soft? If your initial setting is a little too tight, I get scratch, right? So think of the reeds. When your reeds are set, this is a double reed instrument. If your reeds are set a little too tight, then in general your sound will be a little too tight. It will stop you from going as loud and as open as you want, and it will stop you from being able to go as soft as you want. Because every time you go soft, the reeds touch too much, you get disturbance, and every time you go loud, the reeds they're a little bit too close, so they're kind of holding back the air, right? Try this. First do this. Just blow air through. Go from that into your da, so we're going to do air to sound. Try that. Air first, air first. Don't think trumpet embouchure, just blow some air. Do it again. Oh, right into the C. Yeah, it's going to feel way more open. Does it feel more open?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's okay. That doesn't mean we still can't make it more small, right? As I showed before, if we did very open. If I can still get to the whisper tone, then I can still go small enough, right? Okay, so don't be worried that, oh, I'm going to have a spread open embouchure. It's not the case. You'll know if it's spread because you won't even be able to get a sound out, right? So let's do this again. Now, after you do that, then I want you to do the crescendo and diminuendo again. See if you're able to go louder and softer without scratch when you go soft. Let's do it again. Really pour the air through. see your lips aren't letting it happen. They're a little too tight. Do it again. Pour the air through. Let the lips open. Yeah, but I'm also seeing you're kind of tight here. Let this relax. Yeah, listen. See, if I want to make that, I can make the lower notes start to come out, right? I do that by coming a little too tight together this way, right? Or being a little bit too relaxed this way, but then pushing together this way. So there also has to be this kind of basic balance here holding things together. So here, can you buzz it all?
I don't think so.
And so it doesn't, like, and we talked about this before. You don't have to buzz, but buzzing is a good tool, right? So if you go, let me hear this. See, lips are too close together. That's why you're getting sputtering, right? So these pull down more, this pulls up more. So it's getting better, you see? People think that buzzing is something that can make you get really tight as a trumpet player. It's not, it's only if you buzz tightly. If you buzz like this, you're gonna play tight, right? But if you buzz and you maximize the space between the lips, that doesn't sound tight. So if I play that way, it's gonna sound open and resonant. Try to buzz this way and make more space, as much space between the lips as possible. Keep going. So these muscles activate. Activates here and here at the same time, right? Now, when you're playing that C, play the C again, but I want you to think about creating as much space between the lips as possible when you're playing the C. Yeah? Do that again. Now I'm hearing a clarion quality to the sound that I didn't hear before. Does anybody hear this? It went from ooh to having a little bit more ah, more of this. This will happen even more if you train this way, right? So you have to have, again, a balance of tension in the embouchure. It can't be all, but it can't be all this either, right? What buzzing can teach us, not exactly like trumpet playing, but to a degree can teach us how the formation here is holding in balance, right? So then I take that balance and I apply it to the trumpet. But of course, less buzzy, more just kind of like blowing air, right? Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Next victim. Huh? All right. What you got?
Maybe I'll play like a part of a Charlier Etude.
Yeah.
If that's cool.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, this is good. First thing I would say, just from a musical perspective, I mean, it's pretty good trumpet playing, right? But musically, it's a little flat.
Okay.
Da, 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 da. How many people would pay money to hear that?
I pay money for the score.
No, it's not an insult to you, but it's to remind you of why we do this, right? Why do we do it? It's because music is beautiful, and we want to listen to it. So, play a version that you would want to listen to, that you would want to pay money to hear. Okay? All right. Good. It's already getting somewhere. Now, what's the character of this? I mean, we have different options, right? I can be. That's the wrong character, right? It could be the more. It could be this, right? It could be more, maybe something in between, like a romantic kind of self-assured, confident, you know, like buoyant. I'm kind of hearing something, yeah, I don't know. This is subjective, right? But do you remember what the markings are? What does it say?
I don't remember.
Okay, this is something to know if you know it by memory, right? If I was going to perform this, I would want to remember, like I know my etudes that I write, like allegro con moto, with motion, right? Or what's another one? Con amore, right? Like with the feeling of love. Like what's your inspiration, right? So, and then the other thing is being consistent within that, right? So think of it kind of like you have reoccurring themes as a composer. So when those themes come back, then you keep kind of the same character. Then you have to ask yourself, how many characters are there in this piece? And once it goes, I can't remember how it goes, but that's a different character, right? When that character comes in, it's different than. I would love to hear the character change between. So play the second time when it comes in softer, and then I want to hear the next thing, and then that character change. Immediately the character is different. And then to make the other character a little more smooth, these little runs, they have to be not ruled by the fingers, but ruled by the air. Right? So play that. That part. Now play the same thing without any articulation. So there's one little break in there. So play it one more time. Play it. This time I want you to play it on a mouthpiece. And just play it really kind of drunk. Like this, right? Right, so you're still hitting all the notes, but they're so connected that, right? Now play it on the trumpet, but I want you to play it a quarter drum, right? So still like you did on the mouthpiece. And keep that air moving through it. Again. Yeah, it starts to get more connected this way, right? We start to get more of the character of suave and debonair, and right? And then add the articulation to it. But and also it feels like a phrase of this and not this, right? great. This is another thing that mouthpiece is very useful for, is for us understanding that we have a partnership with the trumpet. The trumpet is a slotting machine. We are the connecting component of that, right? So people always say, use the air, but it's use the air in conjunction with the slotting and understand how this can help you, but it should not rule you, right? The valves don't make the air happen. It's kind of like, I like to think of an elevator, right? And then the doorways for the elevator. If you're waiting for the elevator, you don't see the elevator. You just see the door open, and you get in, and then you get off and you're on another floor. It's kind of like if we play da 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 da, but behind the scenes, da. This is always happening. So if we keep this happening in our playing, no matter what, the fingers, that's just the doors opening. But that's not the elevator, right? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, beautiful. Thank you. All right. Who else?
Well, I have something, but I'm kind of waiting for.
Yeah, well,
because I played already.
well, I don't know. I'd love to hear you play. How much time do we have?
We have one more hour.
An hour. Okay, come play something. But then I want people to not be shy. You're next. Okay. Yeah.
So pretty much this is something I will be playing on Sunday.
Okay.
So maybe I'll take this.
Yeah.
There's this specific part which I think you will play the best. Of course, it's. Do you know this piece?
No. No.
So pretty much in the middle there's this slow section where this one is with a cup and this one is open, and there's these little jumps right in this one as well,
Yeah.
which are kind of difficult, but these are the things already we talked about, like the
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe I'll play a bit and then you can just suggest some changes.
I think I heard this played at the competition last year.
Yeah, it's
Very popular.
Very
Okay.
popular. And then there's a piano,
Mhm.
and then with a accompaniment, but I don't have one, so.
Well, no, you sound great. And I'm not going to speak too much on the musicality of this piece, because we could, of course, I don't know the piece that well, but I see trumpet players do this all the time in master classes where they spend a whole hour talking about the da-da-da-da-da. But I want to help you with something that's more mechanical, which is, I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah. So this, they call it the Valsalva maneuver, you know?
No,
So when you go to pick up something heavy, what's the first thing you do usually? Your throat closes up, it's a natural instinct, right? Same thing happens sometimes when we play trumpet. If there's an interval or there's a high note or something, and I think we do it also in a way where it creates a restriction to the airflow, which almost aids us in playing certain things. So for example, if there's flexibility passages, instead of having this yodel approach, which is open here and based on tongue movement, we have a little more like, Can everybody make this sound? Right? Actually, I hear this sound a lot in like Russian language, right? I think this is maybe, I don't know. But what we don't want to do is use this in trumpet playing. I feel like it's possible to use it in some constructive ways, and I've talked to some lead players that have talked about using throat manipulation, but I think it's one of those things in general you want to avoid, and you want to keep that feeling. I think a lot of it is just consciousness. If you're conscious of it, it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? I'm just curious, like play this last passage, and think more about using the linguistics of syllables, and keeping this really relaxed here. From like, okay, yeah, that's great. Now I hear it even more.
Yeah.
So the fact that we talked about it maybe made it worse. Now, here's another thing, the reason this can happen too. If we play a little too tight here, right? Watch this. Blow out, just go. Any throat tension? Get rid of it, just. Don't think about it. All right. It's fine, right? Okay. Don't overanalyze it. Of course, the air's coming out, you're good. Now, do this. Close up your mouth, close up your nose, and try to blow it out. Any throat tension? Of course, right? It's a ton of tension because the air can't get anywhere. So what do you think happens if the lips close up even a little too much? Then the air is trying to get out, but then it backs up and it hits the throat, and then the throat reacts, right? So this could also be a cause. So try this. Play the same thing, but try to be a little more free here.
So you're more free.
Yes.
Good.
Freer, but not louder. So let's do the whole thing as whispers. So. Okay, this wasn't perfect, but I didn't hear this go at all. Did you hear it?
No.
No? Okay, so
But
it's,
how do I?
you have to first, I think, well, you don't have to. This is one thing you could do. You play it very soft, and you find the quality of this being better, and then you start to introduce more air, but keep and retain this quality, right? There's something that's more relaxed. And I think it has to do with how the air is interacting maybe with the lips, right? And how that's maybe backfiring and causing some stuff to happen here. Or it could be manipulation. Or it could be the fact that when you're playing really softly, you're more centered and more flexible, right? And when you play with more air, maybe, who knows? I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
But I know if you explore playing soft almost fixes everything.
So you want me to play it soft?
As long as it's soft with a beautiful sound, right? Yeah. Yeah, and that time I only heard it happen one time.
Here.
Exactly. So, now try to play it on your mouthpiece with so there's no drop now, right? Whereas before, you kind of made a drop here, maybe. Try this, play it on your mouthpiece, the whole passage, but drunk. Yeah, so, especially there. So not dee da 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 da, more yeah, right?
What's the
That's right. Yeah. So, I think what's happening is a little throat manipulation is happening on your intervals, right? So instead of flowing through and connecting, the throat is manipulating when you have large interval changes. I think this might be happening. So,
makes sense, yes.
yeah, so let's try to keep the connection like you do when you're playing the mouthpiece. It's funny, I heard it try to do it, but it didn't do it as much as it did
Yeah,
before.
It was less.
It was less, because the air was starting to fix it, but you didn't trust it all the way. So let's do it again.
Oh.
And here's a way you can do it. Let me see your trumpet for a second. So you take the, you go. So you see what I'm doing? I'm introducing the resistance of the trumpet just a little by little, but I'm still playing the mouthpiece drunk. And I'm still trying to keep the connection. And so I'm tricking myself into thinking that I'm playing the mouthpiece the whole time.
So something like this.
Yeah, you could just so hold it with the left hand. I would hold, because you got to finger the trumpet. Perfect, right? And so hold it up here so you can then put it in. Yeah, 2 fingers up here. I always recommend when you're buzzing mouthpiece, try to just do 2 fingers. We're not, but if we do this, right? And the idea is not to do it only at once, but you, like I said, you do it in stages. So you notice the first time I did it here, the second time I did it there, the third time I was almost all the way in, and the fourth time I was, right?
Over here.
Drunk. Right? So we don't want to be too slotty. Keep it really.
No.
No, no. Sounds great, right? Yeah. It's gonna sound crappy, but the point is, you understand the point, right? All right, so then as you go through, could you guys hear the translation happen as I went into it, right? So it's something you can work on like this. But go into the next part, because that's the part you were saying you had issues with. So this stuff I think is the same thing as the other stuff. So how I would practice it is to go into the mouthpiece and get the line happening here. So kind of, you want to hit the centers of the notes, but don't try to be precise. Da, 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 da. Leave some of the precision to the trumpet. You have to be a little bit imprecise here in terms of this. If we don't do that, if I play to on the mouthpiece, that's chop. And then I add it to the horn, which is chop. That's like elevator door plus elevator door, but no elevator, right? So we have to make sure we keep a little bit of this happening. For example, if you're playing this piece, what piece is this? Exactly. But it doesn't sound like. But if I plug that into the trumpet, here, let me see. So we go. We have to have connection and then chop. And then the two come together and then they give us a product, right? So it's the same thing here if we have wider intervals. It's the same thing. Connection plus chop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So practice this in a connected way on the mouthpiece and then, you know. So just do whatever the hardest part is one time on the mouthpiece, connected, kind of drunk, right? And then. Now try to get the right pitches too, that will help, right? And the other thing is dynamically, right? So if we're relying on air there, I'm not saying that we don't want to play with air, but if we go, it's a, you know, it's a little ugly, right? So, it's the same concept. Yeah. So before every high note is a low note. It's the basketball. Die, right? Yeah, and then once you get that feel of die, then of course you can make it louder. Die, right? It's still falsetto, but it's a loud falsetto, right? So, okay, I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Lots.
All right, beautiful. Thanks again. You, come on up. What do you? Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh,
So she will be next.
oh, you?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, but after three.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
After
Okay.
three.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, that's great. And I'm still hearing a little bit of this, right? So as beautiful as you're sounding, I think you can work on some of the same stuff we just talked about, right? Because some things, they'll still work and come out even if we have some of these habits. But everything will get better, our relaxation, our sound, all that stuff, the resonance that we were talking about, right, will improve. And so we want everything to, it's kind of like I have this one student, she's 9 years old. You guys got to hear this. Where'd my phone go? Anyway, I'll play it afterwards if you want to hear it. She just won this competition. So the danger of being good at that young age is that everybody's patting you on the back and, you know, oh, you sound great, but I'm one of the only teachers she has that will still tell her like some of the things that she can work on. So as good as you sound, I would work on that connective aspect and keeping things really relaxed here. So the linguistics are working, all this, but still relaxed, right? So not to repeat everything we said there, but just to remind you, right? But the reason I bring up this girl is she's a lot of beginners when they play, they have this kind of sound, right? And then we have to kind of undo that over the years, and then we start to relax and get this more just mature sound, right? So let me hear you just, I want to hear you just do a crescendo and diminuendo on a beautiful note. A G, a C, something in the mid-range. With the prettiest sound possible, and from soft to loud, back to soft. Yeah, that was actually very nice crescendo. And let's start the note again. Let's start with the breath attack. Now let's do this. So we're going to add a flexibility into the crescendo, right? Yeah, start with the breath attack. Yeah, and that's where I start to hear a little bit of the. Could you feel it a little bit? Yeah. If you record yourself, but put the recorder right next to your throat, because sometimes you won't hear it. The first time I heard myself doing this was when I was in a recording session, and I had a mute on. And because the mute was on, they could hear everything through the Harman mute, actually. We were trying to figure out what it was. Is it the mute? Is it the microphone? And then I realized it was me. Right? And so I had to figure out how to solve this issue. So again, think more connecting between the notes, not but this kind of thing. Try one more time. It's not enough to be perceptible. We shouldn't hear it's enough that it will smooth out the connection and prevent the throat from kicking in, you know? So anyway, just something to think about. So do you have any questions about, in terms of the music or trumpet or something I can help with? Yeah.
Really struggling with things like forte at the high notes. I don't know why.
Forte on the high notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, part of that is strength, part of it is coordination. So coordination is what allows us to play a high note. Strength is what allows us to play a high note loud and for long periods of time, right? So first of all, do you have the coordination? Does the note come out soft? Can you get it out piano? Let me hear it. So maybe, is it in a passage or is it just?
In a passage.
Yeah, so play the passage, but when you get to the high note, play it soft. This is the note, yeah? So you heard, when you got to it, there's a little tension on it when it's soft, right? So we can get the soft to be even more ethereal and beautiful. No tension. So that's going to be the root of the issue for playing it loud, right? So focus is when we play soft, and we have, it's kind of, I think of it like two things. If you ever seen somebody do archery? So they hit a bow, right, into the, so imagine you're the bullseye, and I'm trying to hit him right on the nose, right? So I go like this. This takes strength, right? Because he's all the way over there. I have to reach him from here all the way to there, but all the strength, and then it goes over there. It hits the exit sign, right? So, but now watch this. That took no strength, but it took coordination, right? I had to aim it right? Right at his nose. So when we're playing the note very soft, we don't need strength. We just need coordination. We need to find actually where it is. If you find that and really dial that in, then you have a better chance of now stepping 1 foot away, right? Add a little strength. Step 1 foot away, add a little more strength. We started first with the focus. So I started here. I said, okay, I know where it's at. Boop, boop, boop. And now, boop. You see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay, try it one more time. But soft. We'll do, yeah. Yeah. Right? And then you do this, and you just add a little bit more meat onto it every time. Right? Just try it. Add just a little bit more. Keep the focus. Don't lose the focus. And then you can also take this note as a separate note and work on it. Just, oh, try this, just a breath attack. Oh, soft. Yeah. And if you're in between a F sharp and a D sharp, right? Then when you go louder, it might break and fall to the bottom note. Does this happen sometimes? Yeah, so you have to make sure when you play louder that the lips don't fold open too much. They have to resist enough to make sure that the top note stays. So for this reason, I would also recommend once you do some breath attacks on this note, practice doing some crescendo diminuendos, right? So you can actually, you can do it on a mouthpiece too, but if we go. You can take it all the way down to the whisper tone level. Right? I notice when I'm not in the best shape right now. When I'm in better shape, my louder notes can go louder without cracking, without falling apart. There's a place where you push them too much and they just kind of, they do this. But when this is really at its peak performance, you can push it even more. So you just want to work on how wide you can push that. On each note too. So do you do long tones? Yeah, well, consistency. So if you do long tones, I would say do some long tones, some form of long tones every day. It doesn't have to be the same exact long tones every day. But think about it, in performance situation, we never get a chance to really play a note for more than, say, a whole note or two, maybe, at the most, right? When do you get a chance to do this? Everybody pick up your horn. Let's do a long tone together. Let's do a real long tone. Okay, ready? We're going to do an F sharp, but down an octave lower. We're going to do it for 40 counts. All right, so we're going to think of, let me do my math. Is that 8 times, I don't know, let's see, 8 measures of 4/4 time at quarter note equals 60. I think that's about 40 seconds. Is that right? Okay, let's see. Anybody got a metronome? Keep us honest? Yeah, come on. Somebody's got a metronome on their phone. I don't know where my phone went, or I'll get out my metronome.
Maybe in the last class.
Oh. Did I leave it there?
I don't know
All right.
how much.
60. Let's put it on 60. Can you put it as loud as it'll go?
It is.
Or maybe I'll just tap. Oh, no, now I got the tempo. Good. 1, 2, 8 measures. Good. That wasn't even so bad. We can go for 16 measures, right? You can push yourself with this, but if we did 16, what would we have to do? Take a bigger breath, probably, and also put out less. we'd probably have to go. That's it. So when I take a big breath, by the way, I do this thing that Bobby Shue showed me when I was like 12 years old, or 13. It wasn't exactly the wedge breath, but he showed me this really, I use it to this day. If I need to take a big breath, try this. Everybody say O-E-Ah. O-E-Ah. So O, try breathing in with an O syllable. All right, now try breathing in with an E syllable. Creates resistance, right?
Yes.
Now try Ah. Kind of fills up here, kind of makes you more concentrate here, right? And you don't have to lift your shoulders, but you feel it here. So when you go O-E-Ah, it's O, resistance point, creates a vacuum, Ah. So, and so that Ah kind of it acts as a topper on top of the O, right? Is that? And when you do it, you should feel surprisingly a little more full of air than you normally do. Everybody try it. Can you feel that? Is it working, kind of? Yeah? So when I need to take a big breath, I do an OEA breath. And then on top of that, if I need to play for a long time, even if the dynamics in the music say otherwise, I'll take it down a notch dynamically. Because if we're wasting all of our gas, we're not going to make it 40 miles, right? So let's now shoot for, let's try to do 12 measures, okay? On one breath. Here we go. For 12, yeah, 12 measures. 8, that's right, one more. 1, 2. Chance to do this in music, right? This is why we do it in practice, though, because it emphasizes a part of our technique that needs work, right? So now if we do this and then we add crescendos, then we're not working on length, but we're working on aperture control. So let's do it together. 1, 2, ready? What's your name?
Sandra.
What?
Sandra.
Sandra. Oh yeah, I like the rolled R. Right. Okay, so what do you have?
It's a
Oh, Evolve. Yeah, beautiful.
I can maybe put
Yeah. I haven't played this in so long. Love these pieces. Yeah. Okay, you want to just play, or do you have questions at all, or? Okay, play. think of these pieces almost like little trumpet concertos, you know? Because you get to play so much stuff. It's not like regular brass quintet music. It feels very soloistic, and of course this is like height of like romantic style, you know. So really wearing, as they say, wearing your heart on your sleeve. You understand this saying? Some music you have to be really reserved. Like if you're playing Haydn, you keep your heart deep inside, right? But on this, you can really, especially I know the Spanish have a lot of flair and, you know, like, so you can use this to your advantage, I think, on this music. Speaking from technical things, it sounds pretty good, what I hear happening. It's a beautiful sound. Sometimes I imagine when you get tired, you get a double buzz. Does this happen, where you hear a note, another note? Yeah. So that might be related. When you play, are you kind of on the red on the top a little bit? Yeah. This is okay as long as it's not causing pain. So just a warning though for the future. If it does cause you pain at all, think about moving it up.
Yes.
But some people, they stay in the red, and I've seen some people that have defied the rule that you shouldn't play in the red, and they sound great, and they don't have any pain. So, but if it's ever a problem, and you could reach out to me too, because I've helped a lot of people. Actually, I had to do this myself, get out of the red. I used to play right here, way deep in the red. And the reason a lot of people play in the red, especially people with fuller lips, is when we pull out some of the red, then there's more clarity here in the sound. But there's other ways to do it rather than pulling it out. So, but again, I'm not saying you need to change. I'm saying, when I see that, I always give people the warning that it could be a problem, right? Okay. Ah, with the, yeah, thinker. Oh, it's like Maurice's mouthpiece. Maurice had a similar one made for him, custom. Wow, interesting. Okay, then this helps.
Yes.
Wow, perfect. Maybe it gives more surface area on it. Okay, so then on the musical level, look, we could take hours discussing music stuff, and everybody's got their own opinion. Oh, it should be this, oh, this. But again, I'll say the thing I always say is consistency, you know. Whatever your interpretation is, if it's consistent all the way through, and if I can hear the characters and really identify them, then I'm sold, right? And so if I'm judging a competition, this you want to pay attention to, right? When we're judging the competition, we usually have a rubric based on a few different things. One is sound, one is technique, one is intonation, one is interpretation, right? Another one might be stage presence, right? So if your interpretation, for example, let's say you go. Let's say you play it that way one time, but then another time you play it and it has a totally different character, because it comes back again, right? The same. Yeah, exactly. Oh, da 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 da. But then maybe you get there and it's, and if we look at it, it's still piano. It's like he's bringing back a reprise of the same character. So dee da 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 da, dee da da da. And I would actually, the way I played it, I didn't like it at all. If I played it, I would really try to bring out every nuance of all of these dynamics, and I would say overdo them. So one of the things about romantic music is we can overdo, and we have license to do this. If it was, again, Hummel or Haydn, I think then we have to calm down a bit. I want to hear you do this again and just maybe milk it a little bit more, okay? Even vibrato, you could probably use a little more vibrato on certain things too, you know. Okay. Yeah, please, just from the top, just first phrase. And this note can really blossom. So start with intrigue, right? So we start. We tease a little bit. Pull back. And then. And then you kind of pull it back again, right? So you have to kind of play with people's emotions. You do this a little bit. Let me hear just maybe a little bit more of this kind of teasing, musical teasing. I don't know what to call it, but right? Yeah, so overdo. Here, follow me. Right? Let's do it together. Yeah. Ready? Think more like people always say this, but think more like a violin, right? Think of like how would a violinist use vibrato and phrase? I think when there's a dynamic of going louder, oftentimes there's an increase in vibrato. So if we go, so maybe we start more stark, almost no vibrato. This is one way to do it. It doesn't have to be the only way. But then you want to think about what your way is, you know, when you create, like when you use your vibrato. Is your vibrato just turned on all the time? Or is it a vibrato that changes and you use it for musical effect, you know? Because sometimes people play like this. And everything is the whole time. Anybody ever heard somebody play this way? Okay. At that point, it loses its effect. So we should all be practicing, and I'm saying this not just for you, but for everybody, we should be practicing things totally like this, and then, and everything in between, right? So I want to hear you do it one more time, and I want to hear you play it totally different, just to experiment. Because sometimes when we want to find our voice on how we play something, especially if it's a solo, it's not a solo, but it's soloistic. But I want you to, within the confines of what's written, you know, so we still have the crescendos and stuff, but vibrato-wise, I want you to experiment a little bit more. And maybe even how you interpret those dynamics. So try it. And then I want you to do it again and do it different again, right? Okay. Something happened, your technique got better, because now you're thinking about music, and you're not thinking about technique. It's interesting. It's just something to know, right? But, yeah, and musically, I got the benefit of hearing the fact that you were thinking about something musically. Okay, let's try it again. Something totally different. Yeah. We experiment, right? Even more landing on the C. So if we go. So the whole phrase actually has a arriving point. And then it doesn't feel more like measure, 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 but it's you tease. We tease. But we don't land on that C yet. We're waiting for the next C. Then the whole phrase has like a life. It has a birth, it has a blossom, and it has a death. You know? And so every phrase has kind of its own little life. In this next phrase, this is dee-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, beep-ba-bum, beep-ba-dum, ba-ba-dum, beep-beep-bum-bum. And that's kind of like the lead into the next phrase, right? So, but that whole thing is kind of a phrase. I don't know, you have to figure out where your phrases are. What is the bigger picture of your phrasing, you know? And so sometimes what I'll do is I'll go through a piece and I'll circle or maybe put in brackets what I believe is one phrase chunk and another phrase. And one time in a lesson with Winton, he had me actually label the characters. Character 1, character 2. And then you go through, oh, character 1 came back again. Character 2. And this gives you consistency for your interpretation. You guys kind of look like bouncers by the door. Like,
Security guy.
yeah, security. So watch out. You want to play a little, one other part? Something totally different? Like, yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting, this phrase, because you get to do everything in this phrase. You get the right? So this is kind of what we were talking about before with the other people, playing this more drunk, kind of really, you know, so you can use that same idea. And then this slots it, and then it speaks even more. So we want. Try it a little. Play it as an exercise. But like yodel. So yeah, at this tempo. You cheated a little though. You tongued the top note, right? So here's a thing. Take this to the bank. When you have a thing that's slow like this, practice it fast. When you have one that's fast, practice it slow, right? So if you have this. What it does is it teaches you about connection in a different way than playing it slow. If you play it slow, you don't really get a chance to connect like this as easily, right? When you play it fast, you have no choice but to connect like this, right? And then what you do, once you get that connection fast, you bring it back into the slow. See what I'm saying? So play it one more time fast, and feel it in like this. Like this. One more time and try to make every note speak with it, even at that tempo. We'll do it together. Ready? And. One more time. Now slow. Stay in connection. Yeah, so 2 points. Beep, ah, beep, ah. So practice those 2 parts. One more time, same thing. Pay attention to those particular intervals. There we go. Oftentimes it's one or two little hiccup points that pull the whole line back. So you have to find what are the weak links in the line, and then you attack those, right? And maybe if even you go, and then you go, and you work them in, and you just isolate those 3 notes around it, and you don't waste your time with the rest of the line. And then you go back to the line, and it's all working, right? Okay. Anyway, I know we have to get to some other people, but did you have any other questions? Something?
No.
No? Wait. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. Beautiful. What about this little guy? Huh? Where? No. Okay. And then you after? No? Hey. Yeah. How you doing? Okay. You're tall. All right. If this doesn't work out, basketball, right? Aiden, Hummel, what do you play?
Little.
Oh, Naruto. Okay. usually one of the three.
Okay, adios. Play again.
Yeah. Let's play it together one time. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2. Now by yourself. All right. Okay, let me stop here for a second. So some basic things. E flat trumpet. Is this the first time you're playing an E flat for a concerto or something?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So E flats are notoriously out of tune, right? So you hear this one note that sounds a little flat. Which one is it?
Oh,
It's almost a quarter tone flat sometimes. So on that one, we have the choice of playing it open, right? An E open or 1 and 2. Try it with 1 and 2. Let's see if it's a little bit more in tune. Ba-ba-da-da-ba-ba-da-da-bum. So ba-ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, here. Let me see your horn for 1 second. You mind? Yeah. So we got. Now, I think it's not the horn. It might be the way you're playing it. But either way, this will help you. So if I go. You see how it brings the pitch up a little bit more? That's the part I'm talking about. So. Yeah, play from the beginning, and every time you get to those E's, I want you to see if you can do them 1 and 2.
yeah, E.
Yeah, it's okay. It's probably going to be easier if you're reading the music. So I would just say, as a global thing, again, if I'm judging, are you playing this for the competition? Okay. So since I'm not judging this year, I can give you some help. So I would say, it might be too late to work that in. You know, I don't want to mess you up. But one of the things we're judging is intonation, right? So if you know there's one note that's always a little out of tune, and you can fix it with a different fingering, well, what would you do? What would you do? Fix it. Okay, so if you can, right, try to fix that one note. Because I don't hear them all being flat up there. I just hear really that one, the E sticking out. Now the other thing is, and this is a global thing, trills. Trills are kind of like when we hear these ornaments, right? It's like seeing somebody do a flip in the air, right? Imagine somebody does a flip in the air and they go, but then they land and they do a perfect flip, and then they land like this. What do you think? Was it a good flip? Right?
Until we landed.
Yeah, but the landing has to be like this, right? So, so if I'm going. Whether you go from the top note or some people go. I think top for me is preferable for Neruda. Some people will do this too. They'll hang on the note. I don't think one is necessarily wrong or right. Again, consistency. You have to do it the same way every time. Don't do your trill one way one time and then another way another time, because then the consistency's not there, and then it sounds a little off. It's like looking at a table, and every corner looks a little different. One's rounded, one's pointed, one's jagged. It's like, what's wrong with this table? I want all the corners to look the same, right? So and that's the landing. We really have to, right? These trills, they make such an impact on a piece, especially with like Baroque literature or classical literature, because they show the refinement of the player. If you're refined, then that means all of your trills and the ending of the trills and the speed of the trills are going to be very well tempered, and the tempo is going to be good, the landing is going to be good, you know. But if it's a little wild and not refined, then right away I listen to that and I say, okay, style, maybe not so much. You know what I mean? So see if you can clean up this trill and the landing of the trill. You're an acrobat when you do these things. Graceful, right? Try it.
B.
Yeah, just da 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 ba ba da ba ba dee da 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 da. You can just do that little lick. It's a good thing we're not trying to do something 2 minutes into the piece. Okay. Okay, good. So you're doing it without the brum. Some people don't do it. I guess you could just. One thing I like to do when I'm playing a piece of music is I like to read the treatises of the composer, right? So, you know what a treatise is? Performance practice. So you might read a treatise on the performance practice of Hummel's music. I discovered when I read that treatise that actually he preferred when people did the bottom note for the trills, right? So when I play Hummel, after reading that treatise, I play the bottom note. Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Bye. Is it, are we up time-wise?
No.
You have
Oh,
8 minutes.
Just called me.
They,
Never.
they, they,
Oh,
are,
no, it's okay, yeah.
they are resting.
Oh, good. And we can go later, it's okay with me if you guys want, so, but, you know what I mean, consistency. So, do you have you listened to a recording that you really love of this piece?
Yes.
Yeah, cool,
Maybe the sister.
yeah? Have you emulated this recording? Have you copied it?
No, maybe.
All right, look, it's not unlike jazz. If I want to play jazz music and I'm listening to Clifford Brown, famous jazz trumpet player, I'm not going to sound like Clifford Brown unless I try to copy him. Now that's very important in jazz music, but it's also important in classical music. We have to emulate certain people before we find our own voice, right? Even though Dr. Schitzer didn't create the music, right? He interpreted it, so he's one interpretation. But you want to learn a few different interpretations. Like, based on where you're from, like, I'm from the United States, but I checked out a lot of Dr. Schitzer when I was younger, right? Of course, Artunian and all these pieces, but also other pieces that I heard him do. But then I'm also checking out Maurice Andre. He's in France. And I'm checking out Winton, and he's in New York. And I'm checking out, Reinhold Friedrich, and he's in Germany. You get a lot of spheres of influence by checking out these different recordings, not just listening to them, but playing along with them and emulating them, trying to copy every detail of what they do in the recording, because this is how you get better. And then you record yourself, and then you say, how do I match up against Reinhold? Does it sound like this, or does it sound like this, right? Can you really make a carbon copy of what you're listening to? And this is important, because this is what gives us the parameters for how we interpret and play with style, right? We have to copy it first, and we have to have good role models. When I listen to you playing this, it sounds like you don't really have a role model yet, you know? I want to listen to you and be like, oh yeah, this cat's checked out, that's what we say, cat. This cat has checked out Doc Schitzer, or this cat has checked out a lot of Reinhold Friedrich, or this cat has checked out some Wynton Marsalis, or Alison Balsam, or whoever, right? we hear where people are coming from. Who here listens to Håkan Hardenberger? Okay. Who here listens to Maurice Andre? Who listens to Alison Balsam? Who listens to, you get what I'm saying, right? These are very important as if I ask a trumpet player who their favorite trumpet player is or their favorite recording and they say they don't have one or they have no answer, then that's their homework. That's what they have to do, right? And I would say for you, in the long term, not for this competition, but in the long term, you should have 3 of your favorite recordings for any piece that you're going to play. And you should try to copy, you know? And then find your voice out of those 3, right? And it will happen kind of naturally, because you'll say, you know, I really like this and this and this. Then try to put them into a plan that's very consistent with itself, right? Play just a little bit more of this. But I want you to try to clean up those trills, and if you can, is there another passage that has the E's in there? Yeah. Play just one more phrase.
Next.
Sure, next phrase. Just a little bit. So, even musically, dum, ba-dum, 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 it's not da, 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 right? Dum, ba-dum, 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 bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. How does Dakshinson play? He doesn't go da 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 da, does he? Da 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 da. Yeah. Okay. I would imagine he's playing it with the correct rhythm, right? So, ba-dum, 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 but it's not da 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 da. It's kind of like when somebody plays a triplet, but they go instead of da 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 da, they go da 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 da. It's almost da 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 or da 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 da. It's not an even triplet. Da 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 da. So. If either something is something or it's not something, right? Think butterfly. It's got to be very light and quick. Try it. Well done. I believe this is how the rhythm is written in there. Beat 'em, ba-dum, ba-dum, right? Good. And the other thing I would say is I see you also have full lips, and you're playing a bit in the red, a lot in the red. Does this ever become painful for you?
No, I play in this, but I think that good in this.
No. Look, I see your rim is right there. If you look in the mirror, you'll see right here. Your rim is way down here. So, again, I'll give you the same word of warning. If this becomes a problem later on, I know a very good trumpet player actually from Estonia. He actually has been doing really incredible things, but he had a similar problem of playing in the red. And I warned him, and then, but he said, "Oh, it's no problem." But then I got a call about a year later. He had a lot of work he had to do, and all of a sudden now it's a problem, and he's bleeding, and so this can happen, you know, because this area of the flesh is much weaker than this area of the flesh, right? It's a protein thing. There's something called keratin, and you have more of that in this part of your skin than you do here. So this is less suited to the pressure of the mouthpiece. So it's always good if we can get it up a little bit higher, right? Just from a strength perspective. And also from a vibration perspective, being on this part is kind of like playing a drum and having your hand on the drum, you know? It holds back a little bit of the vibration. So it's just something to think about. Not now. Play your best this time, and really think about checking out a beautiful, what I want you to do, this is my assignment to you. Before you play this, when do you play? Saturday?
Before I play
When is the competition for you?
Sunday.
Sunday. So, before then, I want you to listen to 3 good recordings of this. 3 great recordings of this. Even more than practicing. It's more important at this point that you listen to great recordings than practicing. You understand? Okay. This is half of what we should be doing as trumpet players, is checking out great recordings. This is like more valuable than practicing 5 hours when you could practice 2.5 hours and then listen for 2.5 hours. Okay? Because this is how we really improve. And then, how many people here record themselves? Yeah. It's hard, right? We don't want to hear this, but we have to hear it. And so you record yourself and you get better almost instantly because you hear all the stuff that's bad. But also you hear stuff that's good. And maybe some stuff that surprises you and you say, I'm better than I thought I was. And that's good when we do this. Yeah, man. You have a lot of good qualities happening. But I wanna see you fix the intonation on those E's. Get your trills really lined up and land. And I want to hear you listening to some recordings. So, all right. Your name? What? Say it loud. Say it loud. Big. Adalbert. Yeah. Part of being a trumpet player is being loud and annoying. So you have to learn. What's he gonna play? This? Ah, beautiful. Okay. You need to open it up? Okay. And I understand that some people have to just leave or peace out. So, bye. And can you ask him if he has any questions for me? No? Okay. So, you sound great. It's, I would say with this, I would say the same thing actually that I said in some ways to the other trumpet player. Who's your favorite trumpet player? Yeah, see? Okay. So, you can translate for me, right? So, you're very young, and you're just starting to play, and you sound great, but you have to have some role models to take you to the next level musically. So there's something that we have to develop as trumpet players, and that's the love of trumpet, right? And the love of trumpet music. You have to be in love with it, otherwise people don't hear the love when you play. Thank you, take care.
Thank you.
Right? And I'm sure that, that you probably like playing the trumpet, so I'm not saying you don't. But when you listen to great trumpet playing that inspires you and makes you go, wow, then this adds something extra.
kui sa kuulad teisi trumpeti mängijaid ja mõtled, kui hästi nad mängivad, siis paneb sind
And just because you're young doesn't mean that you can't play and have this wow and you're playing as well.
et lihtsalt sellepärast, et kui sa oled noor, ei tähenda seda, et sinu mängus ei võiks ka olla siukest nagu igatlusmomenti.
So tell me, what is it for you, and it doesn't have to be trumpet actually, outside of trumpet, what makes you the most excited in your life?
Mis sind elus kõige rohkem erutab?
mis on see, mis siis kõige rohkem nagu
It could be basketball. What do you love? What makes you happy?
Aga mis sa teed?
Seda hobi ja
Do you like playing? Like sports or maybe ask him sports or some kind of play activity?
Kas sul meeldib mängida nagu sporti?
Like what?
Nagu sporti? Football.
Football, like European football. Yeah. So, what about food? What kind of food do you like the most?
Mis toit sulle meeldib? Everything.
Everything. Well, so for me, my heart really sings. What are these called? Pilmeni?
Dumplings.
Yeah, those dumplings. I want you to play. Do you know these? Yeah. You ever had these dumplings?
Toit ei meeldi selline.
Yeah. I want you to think. Tell them this. I want you to think of a food that you really love, that makes your heart sing, that makes you really happy, and play this same first phrase. We're thinking about this.
Samal ajal, kui sa mängid esimest fraasi, mõtle toidule, mis sulle meeldib.
Yeah? But really do it. Really think about this. You're about to sit down and have an amazing meal that was made by your family. You know?
Et nagu mõtle, et sa mängid, nagu mõtle sama aeg, kui sa mängid, mõtle sellele, kuidas sa naudid oma lemmiktoitu.
Okay, try. Can you remember that? Play that again. And now this. Can you do this? Wait. Do this.
Tee seda, mis sa teed samal, kui sa mängid.
Yeah. Just bounce in your feet like this. No. Here, I want you to join me. Bounce. Everybody, stand up. Yeah. Now check this out. I want you to play for them. They're dancing to you. Da, 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 da. Does that feel a little different? Ask him. Does that feel a little different? Yeah. This is dancing music. Look. You can think of a lot of things when you play other than the notes. You can think about your mama's home cooking. You can think about a basketball game and somebody scoring an amazing, three-pointer or whatever. Or you can think about dancing, right?
Et sa võid mängides mõelda palju erinevaid asju, näiteks oma lemmiktoidule, kuidas sul ema näiteks valmistab su lemmiktoitu või kuidas näiteks korvpallile, et korvpalli mängimine keegi viskab kolmele sellesse.
Yeah, and the main thing is try to think of something other than just the notes, Think of, I think the dancing thing maybe works the best. And what you do is you imagine everybody out in the audience, even though they're sitting there like this, you imagine that their feet are doing this. Right? So you can't see it, right? They're like this on the top, but their feet are doing this. Play it one more time. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. interesting, just like I said to Spain, sorry, I forgot. Take care, guys. Okay. When you focused on the music, the sound got better.
et kui sa fokusseerisid muusikale, siis su toon
You hear the sound is more open? Am I imagining it?
No.
No, because he's not just thinking trumpet now, he's thinking dance. He's thinking something a little bit more important and broad, right? This is great, beautiful. And then you can add surprise a little bit. So check this out. Let's play it together.
mängida koos.
Yep. But we'll make a bigger deal of these dynamics, right? So 1, 2, I'm gonna start here. 1, 2. Yeah, so the basic thing is we want to now, on top of dancing, we want to create right? You understand? It's like a contrast.
et seda muusikas nagu tuua välja erinevaid karaktereid.
Yeah.
kontrasti.
One of the most important things musically, I'll tell this to you guys as you're leaving. Dynamics, right? If we want to create feeling in people in the audience, this is one of the easiest ways to do this, is by having more dynamic contrast. And so, for those of you that are doing competition, just another reminder, in the competition, play with a wide dynamic contrast. Because this not only leads to better interpretation, but it leads to better music making. Right? You understand? Does he?
kui sa teed rohkem nagu, kui sa varieerud nagu dünaamikaga muusikas, siis lõpuks nagu toob huvitava nagu.
Let's give him a round of applause.